Hello and welcome back. Puzzle time once again. I don't know how long it's been this time. I think it's been almost a month. But a lot has been going on that kind of explains my absence. Sadly, our second dog, our youngest one, was diagnosed with primary glaucoma. If you're unaware of what that means, it means that she basically struggles to control her eye pressure because she doesn't drain fluids from her eyes that easily, and as a result went blind, and because it's very painful we ended up having to surgically remove that eye. So difficult times here in the Sleuth household. I guess in better news, here is FullDeck and missing a few cards. I think they've created, as far as I could tell, a puzzle dedicated to this channel. They did warn me in the note to me about this puzzle. This is a very difficult puzzle and much harder than the normal difficulty of these, of the ones that I feature, but I thought here is a puzzle about sleuths looking for clues in all the wrong places. Sounds very familiar recently, so why on earth would I not give this a go? What may end up happening is if I go down like the false route or something along those lines, is I may actually edit this video down to remove some of it. If it ends up being like over an hour, for example, of me trying to solve this is just not going to be enjoyable for you guys to watch. So, but regardless, we're going to give this a good go. And let's take a look at what we have in store for today with looking for clues in all the wrong places from FullDeck and missing a few cards. Really looking forward to this one. We've got quite a few rules, some of which are actually unique to this puzzle. Like Sleuths, I've never seen that before. So, and you can see kind of the emoji here in a few places with footprints as well, joining cells. So this is going to be fantastic. You can see there is a question mark, there is a spyglass, kind of magnifying lens. So interesting. Standard Sudoku rules apply. The digits 1 through to 9 in every row, column, and box. You know what that means. Place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row. Every column, every 3x3 box is outlined by the thicker, dark lines. Then we have whisper 4 lines. Adjacent digits along a whisper 4 line, the magnifying glass and handle in this puzzle differ by at least 4. I guess we would normally know these as Dutch whispers. So if this cell is a 2, the 2 adjacent cells on the line must be 4 or more digits apart, 6, 7, 8, or 9, for example. Key thing to remember about Dutch whispers, sorry if I'm referring to it as such, is that 5s are allowed because you can have 1s and 9s next to them, and that would be 4 or more apart. So it's not quite strictly the case that it oscillates between high and low digits like German whispers would. Renban lines, digits along a Renban line, the question mark and the shadow of the magnifying glass in this puzzle must form a set of non-repeating consecutive digits in any order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 5 cells on this line must form a consecutive set without repeats. So even though these 2 cells don't see one another, double 1 here does not work. A collection of 5, that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Can't skip digits and can't repeat digits, as I stated earlier. And, the question mark is 1, but so is the shadow of this magnifying glass. Then we have sleuths. All of the cells with a sleuth contain the same digit. So these cells are all the same digit. I wonder what digit they have given the sleuths. And then footprints, digits in a cell separated by a pair of footprints are in a 1 to 2 ratio. So if this cell is a 2, for example, not only would all of these be 2s, essentially the footprints are like black croquet dots. So this would have to be 1 or 4 so that one cell is double the other to be connected. So interesting clue. Right, I think that is all the rules we have. So as always, to play along, link in the description down below for you to do so. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, so essentially we have the digits 1 through to 8 or 2 through to 9. And it definitely includes the digit 5 somewhere on here. So essentially, there will be a 5 on this Dutch whisper line somewhere on this Renban. Now, these are also somewhat interesting in the sense that we know that black crop dot digits are going to be from 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. So essentially, we've really just eliminated 5, 7, and 9 from these. Right, I feel like this is the place to focus. Probably. Now, there's another thing as well, is where the handle attaches to the magnifying glass, it has 3 neighbors. So I've mentioned that you can, of course, have 5 and then surround it by 1 and 9. But clearly, when they have multiple neighbors, more than 2, in the same box where they can't repeat, I can't have a 5. So I am going to use some colors for a second. So this cell has to be different polarity. Well, it could be, to be fair. This cell has how many neighbors? 1 and 2. So technically, these could be 5. This could be a 5. This is definitely not a 5 because it's got because of course it's got 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so this is a relatively low or relatively high digit, as in it's 1, 2, 8, or 9, I believe. And these are almost certainly the opposite polarity, but again, one of these could be a 5. We'll come back to that in a second. But essentially, because this cell, you can see that the line goes into this one, it goes into that, and it goes into here, and it goes into that. And clearly, this cell is only going to be 1 digit. So these are going to be 4 or more apart. And there is 4 of them. So in my example earlier, when I had the 2, there was 6, 8, and 9. That 6, 7, 8, and 9, which will be 4 or more apart. But in essence, this is a relatively low or relatively high digit. Now, because these two are of the same polarity, even if they are a 1 or 9, which they could be, can they? No. Whilst one of these could be a 5, the other one has to be opposite of whatever this is. So let's go with this example. So this could be 5 and 6. This cell is almost certainly purple, but technically I think it could also be a 5. Because obviously if I make these, no, it can't be. Because these two are orange or grey, and a 5 has to be adjacent to a 1 and 9. And because these two are orange or grey, this definitely has to be purple. I really don't mean to do that. Just keep ignoring the sample digits. It's just for me to reason about what is going on in box 5 here a bit. They weren't kidding about this being a hard puzzle. So obviously we know that sleuths do not have 5, 7, or 9. So we know that whatever parity this is, it's going to be orange or purple. It's not going to be grey. And sleuth is not here, and sleuth is not there. Sleuth, because of the Renban, is not here. So essentially, sleuth is in one of these 3 cells. I don't know if I want to start doing this. This seems a bit silly with the number of colors that I have right now. Maybe not too silly. Right, let's do this. Same digit, same digit. So one of these is sleuth. One of these is sleuth. One of these is sleuth. And then, oh, sorry, I've missed this sleuth. So one of these is sleuth. Yeah, I'll give it a green flash. And just for completion, I will color all of these green. So we know that sleuth is definitely orange based on the kind of reasoning that we've done in here earlier. In terms of polarity, and notice this. They are two apart, but of the same polarity. So meaning either this is indeed a 5 to essentially allow us to fix the polarity. Because if this is orange, if this is a Dutch, like a German whisper line, this would be orange, this would be orange, this would be purple. But clearly, that is not entirely true with the fact that these two are orange. So somewhere in here, potentially this cell is a 5. One of these 3 cells is the 5. Which allows me to say that therefore, because of the Renban rule, that there is no 5s in any of these cells, and therefore these are purple, and these are orange. And remember, they are unique because they're on the Renban. So I've already identified 1, 2, 3 oranges for sure, potentially a 4th. And because this is an 8-cell Renban, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we know that I will be short either a low digit or a high digit, because essentially it's either 1 through to 8 or 2 through to 9. So essentially I either have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 low digits, and only 3 high digits with 6, 7, 8. Or, yeah, this is a fantastic puzzle. Remember how I said the 5 has to be surrounded by 1 and 9? And by what I just said, that this is 1 through to 8 or 2 through to 9, this Renban does not have both of the digits 1 and 9. Meaning, if I place the 5 in here, I've broken the puzzle, because these two cells that see one another have to be 1 and 9, which are not allowed on this Renban. If this was the 5, these two cells would have to be 1 and 9, which are again not allowed on the Renban. So the only place that can be a 5 is this cell, and that's our first digit. To be fair, 8 minutes in, not brilliant, but I will take it, which means that is not sleuth, because sleuth is definitely not a 5. And therefore none of these are greys. And this is definitely a sleuth. Now this cell, because we've already placed the 5, we know that this will be purple, and this will be orange. So we have 4 orange digits and 3 purple digits on this Renban. Now we also know that this would have to be the 1 or 9 to be 4 or more away from the 5. And this is no longer sleuth, this is sleuth. And that is not enough. We haven't quite figured out these, so we'll come back to that. One, two, three, 1, 2. I mean, the thing is, there can be 5s in here, can't? So actually, we should probably think about the rest of this handle, shouldn't we? Hang on, orange, purples. So if there is, okay, I'm just going to think about the rest of this magnifying glass, purely because I don't think there is a 5 in here. Because if there is a 5, these two cells see one another, and it would have to reverse polarity, which I don't have the space to, because essentially that looks like orange to me and 2 green and 2 purples. But if there's a 5 in here, I have to reverse polarity, and I don't have the space to reverse it again. Same, if this is a 5, that's 1 and 9. However, I think I get away... Oh, no, no 5, no 5, no 5. Did that make sense? I probably went a bit quickly. Again, if this is 5, that's 1, that's 9. That's saying now orange, and because this can't be a 5, again, because of the conflict in here and in the repeat, I wouldn't be able to get back to orange. Essentially, orange is low, so this would have to be 2, 3, or 4, or I mean 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then what digit would allow me to go from 9 to something back to a low digit? It can only be a 5. So you can see how this doesn't work if the 5 is in here. This doesn't work if the 5 is in there for the exact same reason. That these two are now oranges, and I have a 9 and a 1 next to them, so it would both have to be 5s to be the same polarity. And then, of course, this couldn't be a 5. Right, so I'm comfortable I've better rationalized this. So these are definitely colored as such. Notice how in this line we've got all of the oranges when you include the sleuth. With the 1 and 9 in here, so I'm just going to double check. All of the cells with the sleuth contain the same footprints. Digits in the cells separated by a pair of footprints are. I was just checking for negative constraints about the footprints, but there wasn't any. So with the 1 and 9, essentially the unknown digit is in this cell. We actually know that the remaining digits are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No? No, not 5 again. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. So we know that for certain. We know that it's unique. In essence, I'm just thinking about, normally with German whispers, you kind of start to think about the most constrained digits, like the 4 and the 6, which we know they're on there. We know that their neighbors don't repeat. And therefore, think about the 6. Wherever the 6 is on here, its neighbors are 1 and 2. So in essence, if this is low, as in 1, this has to be 6, this has to be 2. Because I need to play 6, 7, and 8, and nowhere would I be able to surround it by 1 and 2. And then you can sort of repeat that logic by saying that this would have to be 7, this would have to be 3, this would have to be 8, and this would have to be 4. This cell forces the rest of that entire line. Now, let's reverse the logic and say that this is high, as in it's a 9. So the low digits, 2, 3, and 4, still have to be placed on purple. And wherever purple is, the 4 specifically, the most constraint of these digits, has to be surrounded by 9 and 8. So this would have to be the 4, this would have to be the 8. No other place would allow me to repeat the 9 on this Renban. So, like, my conclusion is, this is entirely forced, where 4, 6 in here, 4, 6 in there, 2, 8, 3, 7. And therefore, all of the sleuths now, we can further constrain them to be 2 8s. Knowing that this would be, these two would be 1 or 4. Interesting. Lose that before I do something silly with it. Oh, this green cell is sleuth. We know that. So that's the other 2 8. And then essentially the orange 2 8, the last couple are in here. Now, if this is 2 8, this is 1 4. I mean, this is clearly going to help us disambiguate things at some point. So let's carry on with the Dutch Whisper. 4-6, hugely constrained. If this is a 4, this is an 8. Therefore, this would have to be a 9. And if this is 6, that's 2. This would have to be a 1. And again, this is the same 1-9. And you can see now, this is not 3-7, not 1-9, not 2-8. This can only be 4-6. And then the 4-6 has to be surrounded by 1-9 or 2-8. So this is definitely 2-8, just Sudoku. This is not 2-8 or 4-6. The fact that these are quite low or quite high, it allows me to get away with a purple 3-7. Doesn't have to be 2-8, does it? No, hang on, 3-7 doesn't work. We've established that I need... I'm having a senior moment. The 5 in here says that this is 1 or 9, because these two are the two extremities, and I just totally ignore that for a second. And then obviously Sudoku says this is 3-7. And then this cell, 2-8, well, I mean 3-7 is the more restrictive of the two, allows me to do 3-7 or lower. So it's essentially this is 2-8 or 3-7. Don't know if I want to label that. I don't want to label that. Probably should label that. Reason I'm thinking about labeling it is I need to start thinking about the rest of that magnifying glasses handle. So and the fact that it is not 1-9 means neither of these are 5s, and because they're not 5s, they're both oranges. This is not a 2-8 or 3-7 orange. This is a 1-9 4-6 orange. And this is just not 2-8. Not brilliant. I'm not enjoying the amount of pencil marks that are there, but it just helps me reason about it a bit more. Next to a 3-7, an orange 3-7. Sorry, next to a purple 2-3 or 7-8. Not 2-8. Two-8 can be next to 4-6, so this could be one of three options, which is not something I particularly want to pencil mark. The fact that they're both orange, however, means that can't be 5. Because, well, no, it can be, because it could be the same digit. I could have a 1-1 or a 9-9. So sadly, this could be a 5. Yeah, it's not sleuth yet. And these could be 1 and 9. No, they can't. Right, let me show you. If this is 5, just go with it. This is 1-1. Which one is the 1 and which one is the 9? And obviously the same is true if this is 9s. So that doesn't work. So this is definitely purple. Let's just for a second just make the argument. So this would be orange. This is definitely not a 5 because it has 1, 2, 3, 4. Same logic that we had in box 5. So this cannot be a 5. And if either of these, again, same logic, if either of them are 5, that's fine. But the other one would definitely be orange because it would have to be opposite the purple. And because it's purple, sorry, it'll be orange, this has to be purple. And in here, these four are once again orange or gray. Not sure I need white anymore. And because they're the same polarity or a 5, I think this has to be same kind of rationale. Like it's all exactly the same as box 5. It just took me a long time to see it. So now I have 3 purples for sure. Potentially 4 oranges, but not guaranteed. I need to do something about the question mark. Just haven't really used it, like, at all. Just kind of to remind myself this is definitely a sleuth. You could see that the 1/9 is in one of 2 spots. It doesn't force it in here. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's definitely no 9 on here. Good to know, but not quite conclusive. If this is a 1, this would be a 2. And then I would have to have a 2. Yeah, if this is 1, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And essentially sleuth would be 2. But sleuth is in one of these 2 cells because of this setup. So this cannot be a 1. This is definitely a 4. Not that it helps me disambiguate sleuth. 2 and 8 remain an option. Again, if sleuth is... So remember, sleuth is not on this Renban. So the 2 or the 8 are definitely not on here. And I'm just going to illustrate what this means. So essentially, let's go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we know that one of these is absent. If this is 8, nothing stops me from having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the question mark. And if this is 2, nothing stops me from doing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the only thing that's guaranteed on the line is a 5. Nothing else is, which is, like, frankly quite disappointing. He'd like to think that there's a bit more to it than that. So this is not orange because it's not 1/9, it's not 2/8, it's not 4/6, and it's not 3/7. And because it's on a footstep, meaning a black croquet dot, this is not a 5. So this is definitely purple. And I think we have it, don't we? No, because this is not guaranteed to be sleuth. For a second, I thought it's forcing something here. It's not. Being purple, frankly, means nothing other than just not being 5, 7, or 9. It doesn't seem like it's helping us. Be nice to figure out which one is potentially the 5. So if this is 5, so remind me that we've reasoned a lot about this in box 5, and I should have just immediately filled in what was happening in box 7. But again, if this is 5, the 2 neighbors would have to be 1 and 9, but they're the same color. So that just doesn't work. So I said this could be 5, but I'm fairly sure it can't be. Same deduction. These are two different, so that's not 5. And again, same deduction, that's not 5. So the only one that could be a 5 is this cell, where actually, again, it can't be. Interesting. I feel like I'm jumping to a conclusion here that's not quite solid. First question is, could this have been a 5? If any of these purples were a 5, because of the way the polarity is working out, I needed to have a second 5 to be able to flip it back around. So I'm fairly comfortable with the deduction that these purples are not 5s. And because they're not 5s, not that this matters, that each of these have neighbors that are the same polarity in the same box. It cannot be a double 1 or a double 9. Yeah, so none of these are 5s. I'm comfortable with this deduction. And that means I have all 4 oranges, and then these are purple 5s. Now this cell, which has 4 neighbors, has to be 1, 9 or 2, 8. We know that. This cell, which also has 4 neighbors, but I can get away with just 2 digits, can't I? So I know actually very little about this one or that one. Yeah, not sure. So remember, if this is 1, then this would be 2. Both would be orange. And then the 1 orange would mean that can't be 1. I think it essentially eliminates 9, so it would become 4. It would become 4 if this is 1. It would be 1, 2, 4. If this is 4, 8, this would have to be 9. I think I need to be trying to make progress towards disambiguating some of these things. And like I've ignored it for maybe too long, that it's probably slowing me down now. I say probably, almost definitely. So in here, I'm missing an orange. No, I've got all the oranges. I am missing a purple 3, 7 and 4, 6 and a 5. And sadly, I seem to have no constraints on the remaining 3, as far as I could tell. There's definitely something to this cell in these 2, where you could see that, right, so if both are orange, this is 1 and 2, this would have to be 4. That's fine. And then this would have to be 2, 8. Sorry, that doesn't work, does it? Let's try that again. If this is 1, that's 2. Because obviously they're the same polarity, this would have to be orange. Because this is orange, it's low, it would have to be 4. And because this is 4, this would have to be an 8. Is there a problem with anything I've just done? I don't think so. No, for a second it looked to me like it was forced, and it isn't. Now let's try something different. Let's say that this is 4, 2. So they're both orange. So this would have to be 1 as the low digit, and that's fine. And of course, if this is 8 and this is 4, this is the opposite color. So this would have to be high, and this would be 9. What I'm concluding is this is never 6. The only way that this is 6 is if this is 8 and this is 4. Hey, my lovely. Hi. All good? Hey. Sorry, because if you have a dog with primary glaucoma, the challenge is that it's not just it affects one eye, it affects both eyes. So you have to be looking out constantly for any signs of pain on the off chance the other eye's pressure is out of control and that you need to do something to help it. So whenever she makes any noise, I have to immediately stop what I'm doing, check out to make sure that she's okay. So, all right, I think maybe I need to be doing more Sudoku. Often the case, when I get stuck, I'm not doing enough of it. So for example, this cell is not 5, so it's definitely orange or purple. Let's just start there. In fact, so is the entire column, but we'll come back to that. If it is orange, it can only be 4, 6. If it is purple, it can only be 2, 8. Not helpful, but something. Notice how there are no 4s in any of these. Have I just missed that the entire time? This can't be a 4, because that's a 3 or 7. No 4s, no 4s is a 4. Goodness me, Sleuth. Meaning there's definitely a 4 in one of these two cells. Increasingly, orange is looking low. Otherwise, this would have to be 8. This would have to be 4. So if this is not 4, this would be 4. Yeah, doesn't say anything. Four, 4 would make this 1, 2. 4 in here doesn't do anything for this. Makes these 6s. Makes this an 8. Makes this a 4. So if that's 4, this is 8, this is 4. If this is 4, that's a 1, that's a 2. But we still end up with 4s. Yeah, I'm so confused. Anyway. So the orange 4, 6 has not been placed yet in this box. And it's either in here or it's in one of these two cells, is what we're saying. The orange 1, 9 is in one of these two. This was going so well, and now I feel like I'm making a bit of a mess of it. That there's probably enough information right now to make progress, and I somehow keep missing it. Sorry, everyone, I need to check on her. Give me a second. I'm just going to pause here, pause the video, and I'll be right back. Right, sorry about that. All good. Let's see if we can get into it. Okay, let's revisit what we know. There's a purple 2-8 in here. Not very helpful. If this is orange, it's 4-6. If this is purple, it's 2-8. I need to do something about this clue. And I've totally ignored it. These two cells are 1937. 4-6, of course. Can they be 4-6? I think they can be. If this is 4-6, it would have to be 6. And this would have to be 1-2. This would have to be 1-2. So I said this has to have a 5. Don't know what that means really. Purple 1-9 is in one of these two. You know, Sudoku is like filling in lots of potential things, but it's not conclusively helping me yet. And I don't think I've done enough yet to force the polarity of this. As far as I could tell. I probably have enough information on the screen to do something. I certainly have something. I'm sure that they have puzzles that are solvable. As in FullDeck and missing a few cards. I just can't quite see it. One moment. And back again. So if this is 2, then this is, let's just try this one more time. If it's 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. would have 3 and 7, which wouldn't be here. 3 7s would have to be in one of these 3 cells. It's fine. It's fine. This thing is just confusing me. I'm just going to remove it. And if it's 8, the thing is, the 2 and the 8, because I could get away with 5, 3 to 7. It's not helping me. I don't have to have either of them on here, is the conclusion. Right, let's see if we can squeeze more logic out of the Dutch whisper line. So the 4 6 is in one of these cells, meaning it will have to be surrounded by 1 9 and 2 8. If it's this cell, this is 1 9 2 8. If this is cell, it's 1 9 2 8. If it's this cell, this is 1 9 2 8. So in essence, these cells, because of the 4 6, and frankly because of the 3 7, so I think what I'm saying is none of these could be 4 6. Because if it is 4 6, then the orange neighbor, I think I can. I could do 1 9 here. I could do 2 8 there. And this could be 4 6. So no, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, back to this being problematic. This is 1 9 or 4 6. And as a neighbor, it couldn't be 4 6. It would have to be 1 9, which would duplicate. And obviously this couldn't be the orange 2 8. So this one can't be 4 6. Okay, let's try this one. If this is 4 6, this would be in 1 9. This would be 2 8, and I think that's fine. I don't see a problem with that. Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to restrict this further somehow. Right, so we removed 4 6 from this as an option. So this is 1 2 3. Can't be 3 because this is, no, it can be. I could have 3 and 6, and this could be the 2 8. It's not 4, it's not 6, it could be 8. So these are the options for purple. Now, if this is 8, that would definitely be 4. If this is 8, this would be 6, this would be... I'd move on with my life a bit if I can figure out what this is. If I can figure out the polarity, like this would be progress. Obviously, if this is 8, this would be 2. This would be 2. This would be 4. That breaks. If this is 8, this has to be 4. That's the opposite polarity, being orange for purple. So this would have to be another 4, and then I've broken it. So this cannot be 8. Purple has to be low. I don't know if that's the intended route, but I'm taking it. And Sleuth is 8, which forces a whole bunch of things. Wow. That was there probably for ages, and I just missed it for ages. This is low. This is not 7 or 8, it's 2 or 3. This cannot be a 3 because that's a 6. So this is 1 or 2. Sleuth is an 8, so that can't be the 8 next to this black Kropki dot. So that's Sleuth. That's Sleuth. This is low, and we have suddenly genuine progress. If this is 1, that's 2. If this is 2, this is 1 or 4. There's a definite 2 between these, but it can't be an 8. If this 1, that's 2. If this is 2, this is 1 or 4. Yeah. Right. Progress. Let's do something with this. So now we know that there is no 8 on here. Is there a 2? No 2s. 2 would have to be one of the... actually, these being 2, one of them being a 2, means that's not a 2. So the only place for a 2 on this Renban is up here. Which is plausible. Not seeing the issue with that. No 4 is a 4. No 4s is a 4. No 4. Actually, yeah, let's just do some Sudoku now. 4, not 4, 4, 1, 2 pair. No 1, no 1, 1. 5, 9, not 9, 5, 9. We always said there are no 9s on the Renban, no 9s. Only place for a 9. No 4s in any of these. 4s are in here. No 8s. Right, so 5, 2. Can I type? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 and 6 are definitively on here. And I mean, that's not 5 or 6. So one of these 3 is 5 and 6. This is not a 3. One of these is a 3. Now this is nonsense. Let me just erase all of these. So no, what's wrong? What, no, I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, can't I? No 1 or 2. This is not 1 or 2. So if there is no 1. Did that make sense? No 1. No 1 or 2 because of this pair. If I have a 1 in here, I need to have a 2. And again, no 2s and no 1 or 2. So there is no 1s in any of these. So that gives me... I mean, this could also be the 1. For a second, I was going to say that's a 1-4 pair. That's not true. Yeah, I can't. see more of this. So actually, let's think about what these two cells are. They are 3, 7. So I have definitely one of the 3 7s on here, which I think makes sense, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 includes a 3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 still has a 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 has both. Okay. This is a low digit. There's another 2, 3 in here, plus a 6. And then a 6. How am I making so little progress? So this is not green. It's a high digit. So I mean, let's pencil mark 6, 7, 9. Whichever one is the 6, which could be the cell, it's surrounded by 1, 2. And the 7 can't have a 4 as a neighbor. So if that's 4, hey, hang on, let me show you. If that's 4, this can't be the 7 or the 6. Both of them would have to be 9s. So that can't be the 4. This is the 4. This is the 5. And therefore, these are 1, 2, 3s. The 3 can be a neighbor of the 7, but not the 6. So again, same logic. If this is 3, yeah, it can be 7, 9, and this is 6. Never mind. Not a 4 is a 4, meaning the 1 is definitely in this cell, so not a 1, in this column. So no 1s, no 1s, no 1s. 1 is in here. Not enough. 1 is in there. 1 is here. 1 is there. Not hugely useful, to be fair. 2. No 3s. 3. That's a 2. No 3s. Definite 3. That's a 3, 6 pair. So 7, 9. 2, 7, 9? Looks it, doesn't it? Except this is 7 or 9. 2, 7, 9 with a definite 2. And down here is 1, 6, 9. No, 1, 6, 7 or 9. And then therefore these two are something. 3, 5 pair. That's the 5. That's the 3. That's not a 3. That's a 1, 2 pair. That is the 3. The 3 can't be next to the 6. So that's 7 or 9. And therefore this is, one of these is a 6. Okay. Is that helping me? This is high. Next to a 3, it's not 7. This is not 8, it's a 9. That's a 7. Not a 9, 6, 9. Three is on the Renban. You can see one of these two is a 3 and it's not this cell. So that's 3. Still no 2s, potentially a 2. We do have 5 and 6 on the Renban though. So no 5s, has to be a 5. No 2, so we've got 3, 4, 5. No 2, 6 and 7, surely. 6, 7, 1, 2 pair. No 2 is a 2. 3, 5, I think, meaning 7. Another 1, 2. So actually 2 in here says that's 1, that's 2, that's 1. This is 3, 5, or 6. It's not 5 or 3. That's a 6, 3, 6, 5, 3. No, 2. I mean, I'm going to get rid of a load of these pencil marks now because I don't actually need them. So this is 6, 7, or 9. Can't be a 6 next to the 3. So that's a 7, 9. That's a 7, 9 pair. That has to be the 6. That's the 7. This is known. It's not 6. It's 1, 2, 1. 7, 9 pair. That's the 6. That's not a 6. 7, 9, 7, 9. We'll unwind that momentarily. How are we doing for time? Just coming up to an hour on my clock. I'm just going to pencil mark the whole lot right now. So in this column, we've got 3, 5, 7. This is 3 or 7, so that's the 5. That's not the 5. 3, 5, 6. That's the 6. This is a 3, 5 pair. In here, it's 1, 5, 7. That's not 5 or 7. That's the 1. That's a 5, 7 pair. This is a known digit. 2. I've made a mistake. Yes, that's a 2. Not a... What am I doing? This is not 5, 7. Not a 5. Right, let's try that again. Unbelievable. Right, so in the column, to complete this, I need 3, 7, and 6. So that's a 6. This is a 3, 7 pair. Right, in this column, I need 1, 2, and 5. That's not 1, that's not 2, that's not 5. So this is 1 or 2, it's not a 2, that's a 1, that's a 2, that's a 5, that's a 1. Lovely. Right. Let's not lose it. You know, clutching defeat after the jaws of victory would be almost literal here. So the rest of this is 3, 5, 7, 9. Hang on, 3, 5, 7, 9. This is not 5 or 7. This is 3 or 9. This is 3, 5, 7. This is 5, 7, 9. Not hugely helpful. Have I got any info in here with the 2 and the 3 as neighbors? No. Could be anything. So essentially it's coming down to Sudoku. So I have another 5, 7, 9 in here and the 6. That's the 6. This is 7 or 9. Can't be a 5. That's a 7, 9 pair. That's a 5. That's not a 5. That's 3, 7. So another 3, 7, 9 and a 2. And this is not 9. So it can only be 3, 7. That gives me a 3, 7 pair. That's a 9. That helps me unwind this. Yeah, I think that's the puzzle done. Famous last words. Beautiful puzzle. Full deck and missing a few cards. Thank you so much for creating it. I hope you guys enjoyed the solve. It took me a long time to see this. You know, the fact that I can't even remember where the break-in was, but somewhere in here where I've determined the polarity, that took way too long. So apologies for that, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you back soon. Bye-bye for now.